Hey guys, so this error is pretty common, I've always found, when developing in Moodle. So I just want to kind of go through what the error is and how to deal with it. Okay, so first thing we want to do is get the error itself. So here we are in the normal Moodle site. That's all working fine. Let's go to our code. Okay, so here we are in the code, and we need to create a plugin and get the error from a downgrade. So let me just make the simplest plugin you can possibly make. Just call it example, and I'm just going to put a version file in there. Okay, so in the version file, we just need to define a couple of things. Let's get it from, say, another plugin, like mod assign version. These are the things. I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to paste it into our version. Our plugin is called local example 1, and this is the Moodle version required, and we're not super interested in that. We are really interested in this version number. We have a plugin that we've just put into the code base, and as we know, when we do that and we refresh, Moodle will want us to upgrade because it can see that there's a new plugin in there. If we click continue, it tells us exactly what it is. It's basically saying, yep, we're going to install this new plugin to be installed. So that's fine. We can upgrade there. We can also upgrade from the command line. So let's just do that. Okay, so upgrade. We installed our plugin. So that's all done. If we just refresh here now, we'll go back into our site because our plugin's installed from the command line instead. So that's all fine. Now, we can upgrade the plugin. So let's go to just a nice round number. Let's say, and this is going to be number 10 at the end here. We've just increased that number, right? That means we're going to upgrade the plugin up another version. Now, if you have cache equals 1 here, it's not going to see it because it is caching everything. So if we get rid of that, you can see that, oh yeah, it's triggering another upgrade. It's saying go from this version to the new 2022 version. And that's all good, and we know how to upgrade plugins. We've done that before, and that's successful. And we get back into the site once again. So what happens in the database when that happens? Well, we have our plugin basically inserted into the config plugins table, and it's only got one setting. It's only got one setting, which is the version, which is that exact number from there. So our site's fine right now. Everything can load even without the cache. But what happens if we try to decrease this? Let's say we go from 10 down to 9. And then we refresh this. It knows it needs another upgrade, but you will get this higher version already installed. It's trying to go from number 10 down to number 9, and it's not going to work. I wanted to show you as well, when we've got this situation, what's especially kind of frustrating about it, I think, is that often our code is in a totally valid state. There's nothing wrong with this plugin. There's no coding errors or anything. It's simply a mismatch between the code and the database state. That's what's causing this problem right now, because we could easily have just installed this plugin fresh and it would be fine. The only problem is that we're trying to go down, and Moodle has saved the old version in the database. It's saved this version. It thinks that we're on this version, and that's why your new code doesn't match. If we try to upgrade, we get our cannot downgrade error. The dreaded cannot downgrade error. So, how do we fix that? Well, there's a couple of ways to fix that. The best way that you always want to fix this, if you ever possibly can, is simply to upgrade the plugin back to the version it's supposed to be. What this error means is you've installed a higher version already, and now you're trying to downgrade it. You're trying to install an older version of the plugin. Moodle really doesn't like that, and I'll explain why in more detail. But for now, let's just get past the error. Okay, I'm just going to go back to that new version again. And what happens? The site's totally fine again. The error is completely gone. So that's always the easiest way to fix that error. Upgrade the plugins. You can even upgrade it past the point that it was at. That's fine as well. You can have the error without caching. you've got problems, you can go into the code and maybe there's another newer version. That's fine. And you can install a newer version. That'll get you past the error. So of course it's fine. You can always upgrade. You can always go to a newer version. What if, for whatever reason, we couldn't go to a newer version? Maybe we were just mucking around on a development environment, bumped the version, but now we don't want to have to change this line of code and commit it into Git and everything. Well, tell Moodle that it's an older version. You can just change this number. So go into your config plugins, find that plugin, and just make the version match. So now that's number 9, that's number 9, and it will still want an upgrade, but that's fine, and you'll be able to get through that. Now, you could fix it like we just did by altering the value directly in the database. It's probably fine for this plugin, actually, to be honest, but the problem happens, I'll show you, when you have a plugin that has some kind of database state associated with each version, because the database state of everything else stays the same. Like, we only changed this one field, but what if this plugin installed other tables or did other things in other parts of the database? Just because we bump it down here doesn't change everything else. So, for example, database install, yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it in here. So let's say we wanted to install a table with our plugin. This is how you do that. And we can call it local 1. We don't need 2, we just need the one table. That's fine. I just want to have a table there. Okay? That's a perfectly normal thing to have when you install a plugin. So let's go ahead and reinstall our plugin. We can do that from the command line. So you can do admin CLI uninstall, yeah, a command like this. If you run this command, you can uninstall, and that's great. And now, for example, we won't have this. If I refresh, that plugin is basically vaporized from the database. Alright, if I go and install it again, upgrading, installed, appears back on our version, a fresh install. But now that we have our install.xml, and let's just refresh the database there, we should see our new table, which is starting with the L, example 1 test. Okay, so we've got our new table in there as well. Imagine if this is all fine, we're using our site for a few months, then we want to upgrade our plugin. We realize that, this is not that great. We really want to put in a new field into our plugin. New column. Well, in Moodle you do that with an upgrade script, which we got here as well. Upgrade. So what it does is basically runs whenever you upgrade past this version. Let me show you. So let's just grab this, put this in here. Gonna get rid of all this stuff. Just want to show you what this does. So here you put your plugin name. Get rid of all this. Alright, so every time in Moodle that you do an upgrade, that means you've run this upgrade script, whether from the command line or the UI. It will come along and check each plugin to see if it needs to run any extra upgrade script. Let's do it for this plugin. So let's say we're on this version, and we want to go up to number 10. But at the same time, I want Moodle to go in and create a new column. So in the upgrade script, that's where I define that. I'm going to say if the old version, the current version, the version it is before we upgraded, if that's less than that, then run some code here. Do something here. It's not a mod save point. It's a plugin. After we finished adding the field, we have to upgrade the plugin save point, the type of plugin local, and the way you add a field is to use this DB manager class that Moodle has kindly made for us. Again, we can kind of look at how they do that. You make some objects in PHP and then you call add to actually add them. So for us, it's like local example1 test, and we want a new field. A type can be whatever, character, and I don't really care about those other little options. That's fine. So yeah, I'm just basically, so far when it comes here, nothing's happened yet to the database. This is just instantiating some PHP objects. Now we're saying if the field doesn't exist, that's called a field. If this field with this name, and we'll call the new one special, it's a special field. If this new field doesn't exist on the table, add that field. Okay, so look, we might go into upgrade scripts in a bit more detail in another video. It's not really the point of this one. The main point is that when you bump the version number, other things happen. For example, running upgrade scripts. But if you notice here, there's no downgrade script. That's the point. Once we've gone and run this code, we can't go back. We can't undo it. At least not with the click of a button. Let's change this to type text. Alright, I think we're ready to run this and actually install that new column. So just go into terminal. So now what's happening? We upgraded to our new plugin version, just like before. The version number increases in the database, but we've run this code now. So if we look at our table, we've got our extra column there. Now, if for whatever reason, if I refresh there, it shows up there. If we wanted to downgrade again, well, we could kind of hack past the downgrade error. We need to get rid of that caching. We've got a problem here, right? And we could go in and, change this. Again, get past it. But now the problem is our database still has this extra field. We've still got the field, but there's no reason this would have run yet. It shouldn't have run yet because we're not even on that version. We're on version 9. So our database is just in a totally invalid state. Let me show you again with Git. So this would always happen when you're upgrading a plugin. You're changing up and down between versions of a plugin, and usually you would be using Git to kind of switch between them. So if you're in a plugin like that, and here let's just, I'm going to add the install, and I'm going to add the version. Let's say that that's version 1. Whoops. But then, what happens if I come along and I want to bump the version and also include a new upgrade script? Let's commit those two things, okay? Version 2. I've got two versions of the plugin now. I want to be able to switch between them. So how about I do git checkout this particular commit. We'll call this one old. So now, if I'm on old, I'm just on the first version. The first version has none of that upgrade script. It's purely just got that version 9, ending in number 9 there, no upgrade script. If I go to master, then I get my upgrade script and the version changes as well. Git is just changing the code, just like I was editing the code, now we can change it with Git as well. So if I'm on old, that's the version that's installed, and that's all fine right now. If I, go in there again, if I git checkout master, it goes git checkout on my machine. That's totally valid and normal, so we just go through and do a normal upgrade. No errors there. But now Oh, actually, no, I don't like them. There's another bug or some other problem with the master. Let's go back to the old version. Okay. However, even though the old version worked before, it doesn't work anymore. Because you've already upgraded Moodle before. So you can't just go back. You could go and manually change this down the version config record in the config plugins table. That will let you get through. But the problem is you've already done that upgrade. And so now you've still got that extra column there that doesn't belong in the old version. There's no reference, there's no reason for that special column to be here. So that is kind of the problem. It leaves your database it can leave it in a weird state if you downgrade that way. So you never ever want to do that in any kind of production system, but it's just a way to get around it on a development environment. And it's kind of showing you as well why you wouldn't want to do that, because your code and the schema and more than that, I mean, all these other things in DB kind of get upgraded and put into the DB, like external functions and different capabilities. All this stuff gets loaded into the DB. So if you change things in here and then manually change out of that version, you'll get the database into a weird state, and that could cause big headaches. You always just want to rely on the upgrade script itself to be doing any changes. If you go and mess with config, you've kind of overridden Moodle's changes that it was going to do. It knows the full state of the database, so you don't want to be changing that. Anyway, that's it for this video. Just quickly wanted to show you that. So that's it.